Okay.
Recording is starting.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. This is the K8s working group for Infra. Today is October 16th, and we can get going shortly. Let me open up the share document and see what we have lined up for today. Did you join?
Yeah. Okay, I'm back.
Mac. Okay. Can you share your screen and take us through the agenda? I started recording while you were,
Okay.
rebooting. Please go ahead and run the meeting, Bart.
So, hi everyone. I'm Bart Smith. I will be our host today. And at the beginning, I want to mention about our code of conduct, which we can summarize as be excellent to everyone. And is there anyone who wants to introduce himself and who is new on our meeting? Okay, so let's switch maybe to our agenda for today. And the first thing, I will need to ask somebody to do notes. I would be very grateful if somebody could help me with that. Is there anyone who wants to help?
I can take notes.
Oh, perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, so the last time we didn't talk about our billing, so maybe let's do it today, how the things are looking for now. I think that, yeah, Justin is doing notes. Tim Hawking, maybe?
Sorry, I've been talking on mute this whole time. I didn't preload that. Give me just a moment while it's loading.
Sure, no worries.
Tim, are you preloading the actual report or are you preloading the PDF?
I was loading the direct from site report.
Okay, I will load the PDF so we can cross-check it.
Thank you. And tell me what date range your PDF is doing.
The PDF is doing September 16th to October 13th.
September 16 to October 13. All right. I show a grand total of 429.67.
I show 428.94. So I'd say that's pretty close.
Less than $1 off for the first time on the first try, I think.
Oh. That's nice. Nice to hear. Okay, so let's move to the review of our action items. There were a few of them from the last time. The first one is about the GCS web in the cluster and understanding the publisher bot config, which I remember that Dims and Nikita, I don't see Nikita in the meeting. So maybe Dims, can you say something about it for us?
Yeah, I don't remember what we ended up doing or not doing.
So I had to go back and look at the notes too, and realized that I guess for the record, utter failure. Lots of reasons, no excuses. Last week we said we would come look at bringing Publisher Bot into AAA by looking at the RBAC configuration and the Google Groups config there. I've also, basically because I've been failing so regularly at making enough time for this, I've asked for internal help here from people who can access the old systems and help to move off of them. I don't know if Nico is here. I don't see him on the list. But I've got at least one volunteer internally to help us push on this. So I will be bootstrapping Nico this week or next. So he will help me carry the load that only Googlers can carry until we get things out of Google space. So I apologize again for failing at this. The next action item in my mind is in AAA, turn on Cert Manager, use groups RBAC to prove that the Cert Manager admins or Cert Manager owners or whatever we want to call the group has access to that namespace and not to other things, and write down what we did so that we have a pattern to follow for other things. Once we have that pattern, the rest should fall in line pretty quickly. And what we talked about last week, looking at the notes, was GCS Web and as a trivial example, and Publisher Bot as a slightly less trivial example.
Right. And then for the Publisher Bot, what we were also saying was only 3 of us have access to the GitHub token, which is stored using Git crypt and Publisher Bot repository. And we would like to keep that way. And one of the 3 of us will update the secret. We'll publish the secret to the cluster, and then we can, the rest of us can help manage the Publisher Bot itself.
Right.
And also
another great example for the RBAC.
Yeah, the action item for me was to sync with team, and actually we did that. We started doing that yesterday because I was sick before, and I think that we will be moving it forward till this or in the next week.
Right. So if you're back online and I am back online and we've got access to Nico now, maybe we'll do a 3-way sync instead of a 2-way sync.
Yep.
And push forward there. The more I can get myself out of the way of, the more it'll actually make progress.
Yeah, definitely. Sounds good. I'm adding for me to make sure that it will happen between us as 3. Okay, so this sounds good. We have an action item for that for 3 of us to sync, and DIMS is something which you should do in this topic too, or?
I don't think there's anything for DIMS to do until we're ready. Basically, I think Publisher Bot should be the second target after we prove through Cert Manager and GCS Web that we know what we're doing. Then we can use Publisher Bot, because Publisher Bot is a less trivial example. Like GCS Web doesn't need any particular secret access. Mm-hmm. So we should start with the simpler one.
Right. Tim, while you were out, there was one more problem that we encountered with the Publisher Bot. I have notes. I will, I'll give you the link on Slack, and then we can deal with it after the call.
Okay, you make me worried, but okay.
We have a workaround, but then I just wanted to make sure that you saw it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, so, okay, that sounds good. Let's move to another topic, the GCB app for GitHub. And I'm unfortunately have to ask Tim you again about.
Yes, I don't know what happened there. I don't think Catherine's here either. She was going to look at that, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen her too.
Let me ping her back channel right now and see if she's got any update that she can offer for us.
Sounds good.
Okay. We'll circle back to this.
Let's move to the next thing, and it's how to make promoter more robust. And this is the topic which is assigned to Linus. And is there something, Linus, you can tell us about it?
There has been a little bit of progress here, but mainly we're waiting for people to chime in to poke holes at this thing. I mean, I did send out an email on Kubernetes Security Discuss. There's also an internal security review, but I think those security reviews they just take time, probably. So I haven't heard back from either of them.
So I specifically forwarded that message on to a few people who I know at various places. I've heard back from one that they were fine with it, that they took a look and they had no problems. One that said they were going to look at it, and no further updates.
Yes.
So at some point we should send a follow-up message to time this out. Like, I don't know what the timeline is for our internal review, but maybe I imagine our review is about as slow as they can get. So maybe we set that as an upper bound and tell people like, hey, after, I don't know, what's today, October 15th. So maybe like November 1, we hope to continue moving forward.
Yeah. I can take that as an action item. I mean, it's trivial. I would just time.
So, so I'm going to add this action item, Linus, follow back, follow up. Okay. What about Terraform? Are the issues closed currently, or we should also do something with that?
I think the issues are closed for now, or I don't know of any open issues.
Dims, I see you about something here.
Was this Bosco's or?
Bosco's, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Bosco's got revived a couple of times. So I think it's stable at the moment, but there is yeah, I think that was it.
Okay, so is there anything we should follow up about this or create some action item?
So there was one question here. I think I asked about it last time too, which was, when can we create empty projects that we can add to Bosco's? Basically, they have nothing in there. We give it to Bosco's, and Bosco's will use it for running CI jobs.
Okay. There's nothing in there?
Yeah, I mean, we need empty projects, and Bosco's basically cleans everything in the project before it allocates it to a new job.
Okay. I guess it requires somebody to write a plan. Like what? Like I don't have any context on it. I'm looking at the notes from last time. Any context either. So it's running CI jobs. These are all the random things for our CI in our repos, right?
Let me focus it a little bit more. So for example, we have jobs for CAPG, the cluster APF for Google GCP Cloud.
Okay.
So that one, when it needs to test, there are periodic jobs set up. So when the periodic job wants to run, create a cluster and try things out, it talks to Bosco's. Bosco's will give it a name of a project, and then the job essentially starts a 5-node cluster with 3 control plane and 2 worker nodes in that cluster.
Okay.
And then when the test is, and it runs E2E tests, when the test is done, the CI job gives it back to Bosco's, and Bosco's basically cleans it up and gets it ready for the next time. This is already ready and it's been working for a really long time. Scalability jobs use it. There are other CI jobs use it as well. So what we want to do is this, currently the list of projects that we have in Bosco's is all under the Google account. We would like to see if we can start creating projects that can be used by CI, basically.
Okay, that seems reasonable. How is there? We don't have a process for proposing new WG Infra efforts. And actually, I would propose the step 1 here is to get a little bit meta. And what is the process for creating a new subsystem? Is it send a design doc or a KEP to WG Infra mailing list? Is it come to this meeting and ask and then somebody does something? Is it send a PR that writes a script? I don't know what we think the process should be. I would like it to be lightweight. So
right. So for this one, it looks like Christoph has already logged an issue 390.
Okay.
And we can. It has some of the context that I spoke of just now.
Great. Is it assigned to me?
We can do that.
It's not for now. At least it doesn't look like.
Yeah, I'll do that right now. Assign.
Issues. Okay, I'll take a look at it. It seems reasonable to me that we could provision some number of projects. What I guess we need to know is how many projects, what do we want to call them, and what permissions, like who has permissions to them, what service accounts do we need created to access them, and who holds those credentials to those service accounts. And
I'm looking at Ben here. Ben, would you be able to help with this? Ben, we can't hear you.
Sorry, how about now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm not using my usual headset. I forgot to charge it. So I commented on the issue that Christoph opened. If we want to do it with the current CI, there's just kind of like a CI service account that needs to be given ownership over the project. I do think I still think it's worth considering. This mostly gets us like spend now. Normally humans don't touch these projects. Like we just create them, we hand them to the robot, and we forget about it, and it's only touched by CI. If something breaks, we fix the robot. So like getting it under the infra work group, hopefully humans are never touching these ever to begin with.
Okay.
You create them and then you're done. So that's a little bit less exciting. The thing that will be a little painful is if we create these, we're going to have the same problem we have now with the current projects, where when we move the CI, the state for which projects are available is CRDs in a cluster. It will be a lot easier to switch to a totally new set of projects when we move the CI than try to do some kind of juggling act where like some of the projects are in use and we're trying to not clobber that. It is very disruptive to CI if we don't keep track of that state.
Sorry, I'm lost on what state that is.
Just basically if the project is in use or not, and who's using it.
Okay, I'm still not sure. If presumably there's a pool. Sorry if I'm asking dumb questions. I have no idea what this does. Presumably there's a pool of projects, right?
Right.
Can we just extend the pool by adding new projects to it?
Yes. I just meant that like when we go to move the associated infra over, which runs in the CI, the state is there. So like we'll need a fresh set of projects, so we'll have to like double these up or something. Just not a huge deal. But the alternative would be to, if someone's more ambitious, is to kind of spin up a copy of the CI and start moving, not pre-submits, but like just periodic testing and things over, and kind of like warm up a new pool. And maybe, not necessarily grant ownership to this ancient magical Google service account from the time of Jenkins.
Okay, so in the short term, we could just create a bunch of projects, throw them in the pool, and let the current system run them. To move it over, we would need to double that up, but that's fine because projects are free. And in fact, one might argue that we should retire projects after use and just have a pool of them that is constantly refreshing. But maybe that's a design change that is a different topic.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds great. It just seems like so far we've been kind of blocked on the sort of thing like creating a project. So, needing to do a lot more of it.
Well, yes, we would need to automate the creation of a project, which is itself a problem. But if what we need right now is create N projects of a given template with a given name format, like that's easy enough. I just I'll go look at the doc and I'll ask the issue, and I'll ask my questions there. And if we can answer those, this is simply write a script and one of the GCP admins runs the script.
Yeah, the only other thing that I don't know is so like small internal detail, we have a system for doing that sort of templating internally, and one of the things it handles is ensuring that they have appropriate quota.
Okay.
I'm not sure how we replicate that externally. The quota part.
Is it requesting quota through the quota request system, or is it something internal?
I don't actually know much about it.
Presumably, we don't have access to anything internal anymore. So if part of this is making sure these projects have quota, then part of the script needs to be either filing those quota requests or printing out enough information that a human can go, oh, good God, click on this link, send the email.
Yeah, for a long time we were doing this manually, I think, but it doesn't scale. So,
well, how many projects are we talking about? 100?
The order of hundreds.
Hundreds. Oh, okay.
I think the main pool is around 300. I think we're normally using closer to 100 at any given time, but we have some buffer, and there's a couple of other pools for other more specialized quota like GPUs.
Okay. Interesting. It's going to be difficult to do billing breakdown for these things.
That is another thing. In the current system, we kind of mostly just have one big general pool that's sort of like a slush fund for projects to do fairly generic, spinning up some sort of cluster. And it's just in one giant billing account, and nobody really knows what's using the most.
Is that better than having 20 projects for each purpose and managing them as individual pools?
So I think the biggest thing was just they currently want to spend a lot of time on this, and doing it that way ensured we always had plenty of capacity. Doing it on like a per use case basis means we need to pay a little bit more attention to like how much capacity we allocate each use case.
Yeah, and the quota conversation becomes more challenging as our org consumes larger and larger quota.
Yeah, that might be a better pattern. I don't see any reason why you couldn't do it. It's just more effort.
Who owns this?
That's a really good question right now. It's actually kind of being tossed around between teams.
Interesting.
It's one of those things that's just kind of worked and isn't really actively developed.
We will need somebody to own this. Like there needs to be a name or group of names attached to this in order for us to really make progress. I'm taking a couple notes and I will ask them on the issue. We can keep we don't need to derail this whole meeting.
The test infra admins can own like the current running instance, but like as far as like, I don't know, being a Boscos expert or something, that would have probably been Senlu, but it's TBD being moved around possibly. Who's going to work on that?
Okay. I'll do two things. I'll take the AI to go look at that issue and ask my questions there. We'll shift the conversation there. Your AI is to solicit ownership. Can you just like probe around like, hey, if this is going to make progress, it needs an owner.
I don't. So I will. Maybe I can work with DIMS on the external part of this. As far as working on it, that's like an actively discussed thing, and I'm not sure like what scope they will take on. So
okay. Well, I'm gonna take maybe an unpopular opinion. I'm reluctant to do a bunch of work for this if there's not a clear owner that I can talk to ask questions about why is it done this way instead of some other way.
I think I have enough information to talk about how the system currently works.
But you're not, sorry if I'm reading between the lines, you're not signing up to make changes if we say, hey, actually it'd be better to do it another way. I know your workload and I'm not volunteering you. I've done this to you twice already this week, right? So.
Yeah, let me, I'll try to follow up on that. That's been an unfortunate thing currently.
It would be a wonderful thing for somebody outside of Google to be able to come in and say, I'm actually co-owning this.
So Steve Kuznetsov at Red Hat does do some work with this, but I don't know if he'd say that he owns it. He's using it and has done some amount of work on it.
Are we talking about Boscos itself?
Yeah.
Implementation?
Yes.
Okay. I know that some people in VMware have touched it too, especially when the AWS stuff was added.
It would be wonderful if we could put together 2 or 3 people who felt like either they do own it or they'd be willing to own it, who we could have discussions about mechanisms with. Like, as the infrastructure group, our job is to empower these people, these teams, but also to make sure we understand where we're spending money, right? If we have a pool of 500 projects and they just all have random charges, we have no idea where that money's going. Right? So I'm saying here, I'd like to discuss whether a slight change in the scheduling allocation mechanism might be a better answer, but if there's nobody...
So actually, I don't think you need a change in the mechanism. It already has concepts of different pools and project types. So it would more be a matter of whoever's managing that instance and the testing, ensuring that we have all those pools, Boscos knows about the projects, and that CI is actually, using the correct pool.
Okay.
That may take some effort. The bulk of jobs today are kind of just not even specifying, they're just taking the default one.
So yeah, I feel like I want to enable this. This seems like a reasonable and easy thing to enable on our end, but I also feel like I need to be able to say, where did that $1,000 charge come from?
Yeah, well, I feel like in some respect that would be down to knowing who's using the pools.
So like, I feel like there needs to be some granularity beyond one big pool.
Right. No, I'm saying like maybe, knowing where the charge comes from would be knowing which one. We do have several pools today. We just haven't put in the granularity of like every use case.
So I don't want to derail the whole meeting here. I'll take this to the issue and I will ask my questions there.
Sounds good.
Thanks.
Ben, can I assign you to follow up on that issue?
Yeah, I'll definitely respond, but there'll have to be questions first.
Okay.
But I'm sorry, I've realized we are both taking notes, but in different sections. So I've been taking notes in the upper section, and you've been taking notes in the lower section. It's like,
okay, sorry. Yeah,
I just realized this is going to be a mess. So one of us should, yes.
Yeah. You are right. There should be.
It's fine. I'm just like, I didn't
know. So another topic is the end-to-end tests, and I think that DIMS will soon need to go. So if I remember, is there Jason who can?
Jason is not here. I'm making progress. I'm not ready to talk about it yet. There is still a few more things that I have I need to do before. Let's move this to the next meeting. We can talk about it then again.
Sure, sounds good. So it looks like from the last week, these were the last action. Actually, there is something which I don't remember and don't understand this part. So there is like work on setting up pro. So maybe let's skip it, or maybe
this is related to what Ben was talking earlier about. Can we have a different pro which has its own set of clusters and the periodic jobs run there, kind of thing. So let's not worry about that right now. I'm more worried right now about how do we the new CapG jobs. Can we replicate some of the things that we do using the kind up? That's the basic problem I'm trying to tackle right now.
Okay. So there are 3 topics in open discussion, and let's start with the first one: alerts for production auditing mechanism by Linus.
Yeah, so as part of the additional security measures to make the promoter more robust and secure, we want to make so let me rephrase. So every time there's a change to production GCR, it can send a pops up message, and then we want to intercept that and send an alert if something is wrong. For example, an image was promoted independent of the promotion process, probably with malicious intent, because you shouldn't be doing that anyway, because every promotion should be transparent. But long story short, if we do have some sort of alerting process, you know, we need to set up some sort of like pager duty thing, or, you know, like who is responsible. So today, let's just pretend that everything is hacked and everything is on fire. Who is actually the person who's supposed to like restore production and stuff? Right? Like that's an open question. I don't think any of this is written down anywhere, like some sort of process or like, you know, escalation policy, etc. So
I think there's two issues there, Linus. There's how do we find out that something happened? Like, do we have a mechanism for alerting? And who, for a service as important as this, who's going to sign up to be on call? And how are we going to manage that? Right. Like,
yeah, I
to
mean,
date, the on-call for this has been, you know, me and in the past, Jeff Grafton and a couple of other people, but mostly it hasn't been needed, knock on wood, but hope is not a strategy, and we need to make sure that we have a group of people who have the authorities to and the knowledge to do a restore from backup if they need to without calling you, and who would get those notifications if somebody pushed an image without going through the promoter.
I mean, so I guess my question to you then is there any like document or something written down somewhere saying that you or Jeff Grafton, et cetera, were on the, okay, so you don't have any prior art there. Okay. Where would something like this go? I mean, yeah.
So
can I suggest, sorry, I've been like multitasking and listening in. Can I suggest a step one would be writing down like, I mentioned this in the Slack channel. I haven't created an issue on it yet, and that's my bad. We need some sort of like runbook system for not just the image promoter, but basically like all the infrastructure we're standing up, so that people who are holding the pager don't necessarily need to know the intimate details of every single system, because the subject matter experts have written it down. So if there's like a specific response pattern or failure patterns that we're looking for, we need to write those down. And we need, like, initially we kind of need just a framework of like, are we storing those on K8s.io? What are those written in Markdown? Stuff like that, and be able to like have a runbook system that then you, Linus, as a subject matter expert for the promoter, can dump information into, and then whoever's holding the pager, when we define better, like, who holds the pager, what rights do they need to have? Do we have like one pager rotation for all of our infra? Do we have multiple pager rotations for like parts of the infra? Like, is there a difference between cluster admin versus image promoter, stuff like that? But once we make all those decisions, we still need a place to like dump information into. And I'd say that is something that we don't need to make the rest of the decisions. Like, we don't need to make the decisions around who's holding the pager, what that looks like yet, but we can start writing down information. Like, what are our failure conditions? How do we diagnose it? What are the important systems that it connects to? Stuff like that in that runbook format, and dump all the subject matter expert information out, especially while it's fresh in our minds.
I would love some input on how to do this better. I just started doing this for the things that are in test infra. I'm just using Markdown in the repo currently.
So I think if I can interpret what Christoph's saying is, we just need to do something. Anything is better than nothing. Let's just do something, write down what that something is, and start a convention. And I need a volunteer to get the ball rolling here. I don't want to volunteer Christoph, but it sounds like you got a lot of context, my friend. Good response.
Yeah.
I can, but it's probably going to be a few weeks at least. My plate is very full at the moment, so I can, but it will take a little while for me to get to it.
Can I just sync with you a little bit on what you're looking for in these?
Yes.
I will spend some time doing some more for the things that I know a bit about.
Yep, absolutely.
And if Nico's coming online too, Ben, maybe we can get him to carry some of this too.
Sure.
I don't think this is particularly hard. It's just tedious, like make a decision, write a template, start the ball.
Sure. I suspect Christoph, having actually been SRE, if I'm correct, will have a better concept of what should be in these. I'm leaning on some of what I've seen, but less experience there.
I have a question.
Yeah, if we've got time and other volunteers, like I can definitely make enough time to like, hey, let's carve out and set up a meeting and give some guidance.
That would be great.
The question, do we have like SREs for community infra?
That's what we're talking about here, really. Like as we move to verticalize each of these bits of infrastructure, we're going to need volunteer owners to sign up for these things.
Okay.
And if we don't, like, just to go back to the Boscos thing, right? Like if there's not a clear person who's signing up to own it and drive it, or organization that's signing up to own it and drive it, I don't think we can reasonably do it.
Right. So currently my team has a volunteer, quote unquote, business hours rotation for test infra, which covers a lot of infra, but not necessarily everything. We definitely are interested in helping stand up a community rotation, but I think the bigger problem there is just staffing.
I have some thoughts on this, but they are like incomplete and I can't share them just yet. But like I do have some thoughts on like how we can develop a community rotation of SRE type folks.
So
I'm thumbs upping you as hard as I can, Christoph.
So, Christoph, should we add an action item for you in the future meetings to talk about it a little bit more?
That one is definitely a little preliminary, but the immediate action item for sure will be like I'll sync with Ben and Nico, I think, from Google, and try and get a runbook framework at least like roughly designed.
Sure, sounds good. Okay, is there anything else with this topic, or we can move to the other one? The first, second, and third. Okay, let's move to the test image staging repo update.
Yeah, hello.
Hello, hi.
So for those of you who do not know the context, basically we are going to need the staging repo for the E2E test images, which will be then promoted to the regular E2E registry. So I've actually got a link from Catherine yesterday to follow these steps. And I've sent a pull request which follows those steps, especially the creating staging repos steps. And I sent the pull request here on the pull request I sent to the chat. So from my understanding, people from that group will have pushing rights to that registry, right? If I'm not mistaken. Question mark, question mark.
Sorry, what was the question? I time switched for 10 seconds.
Yeah, sorry. So my question is that people in that group has pushing rights to that registry, right? Right?
Well, so this is there's an open issue on this too. It would be, in the ideal world, humans don't have access at all to the staging repo, and only the GCB pushes to the staging repo. We have accepted that that is not an immediately practical position for all sub-projects, but we would encourage any new sub-project to think about whether that is something they could live with. Does that make sense?
Sure. So I have a couple of pull requests, which depends on this. Will I have to wait for everything to be automated to be able to promote images?
Well, the good news is that all the automation is done. There's a template to follow. The question is whether you can exist in a world where the only things that get pushed to staging are the results of CI builds for individual repos.
It's not a problem for me, but there's another question which I have, and it might be a useful thing to have. Since we're talking about the E2E images, which are going to be used by all the CIs in test grid and so on, it wouldn't be a great idea to just promote images which might break everything. Is there a way we could add a job which would use the staging repo before we actually merge that pull request and promote the images?
So what's wrong with promoting the new image and then coming back and seeing if it's what we want, and if not, just skipping over that version?
That also works, but
I mean, we're not going to be reusing tags. So like in order to consume a new image, you have to go and update the test to use the new tag, right?
Right.
So you can always say, well, you know, tag XYZ123 was bad. Let's not use it.
Yeah, okay. I think that the test images have the benefit of hopefully nobody is going and searching for new test images and just using arbitrary versions.
Well, and also the tags aren't particularly meaningful, I guess. If you're committing on every, or if you're pushing on every merge, the tags can't be semantically meaningful.
And I have another question. If it's going to be all automated in the future. So when it comes to test images, there are around 31 test images. That's going to take quite a long time to build everything, just so you know. So the image builder, we have to know how to build images and which images to build, basically. It takes me at least half an hour to build everything, for example.
So Test Infra already has automated image pushing, though we skip over promotion, and there's a pretty simple pattern where it matches on which directory is changed. And just doesn't run the post submit to push new images if unrelated directories changed.
Okay. And there might be another issue when it comes to image dependencies. There are a couple of test images which depend on another test images. So there is a certain order to build the images.
I don't think that's true either. I mean, ideally, we're also specifying what version of the other image to depend on. So kind of same thing, if you change a base image, then you follow up with changing the other images. Otherwise, I think the entire pattern of you need to go through promotion isn't really going to work. Or you'd have to like speculate on what the new base is or something?
It's not speculative. You can specify them. For example, there are two test images, the kitten and the Nautilus images, which depend on the test web server image. Which, of course, if you would update the test web server image, you might also want to bump the kitten and the Nautilus images as well and rebuild them as well, if those changes are to be reflected as well.
So again, in test for the pattern we have is we change the base image, that PR goes in, and then we change the other images in another PR.
Okay.
It might be a little bit harder in Kubernetes.
Yeah, that would work.
Okay, is there any action item which we should create here? Or it's fine?
So we can create a staging repo today. Like that's not difficult. The automation, I think I saw a flash up on the screen. There's like a template of pull requests that you need to put together. Have you done that?
Yeah, it's the pull request I've sent in the chat.
Okay. And does that include, did you follow the template for the, sorry, there's the K8s.io repo template, and then there's the, if you want to enable it with GCB for auto build and auto push, there's a separate PR against Prow that you need to send.
Oh, I didn't know about that one.
Ah,
Sorry.
Is that written down somewhere? So does somebody know?
It wasn't in that README file.
Sure. Is anybody from Cluster API here? They were the pioneers of this. No. Can we? I'm not going to have time to do this. Does somebody have time to follow up with Jason or Vince and see if they have written down what the process was? I can try to ping Catherine. I'm going to have to be in meetings all the rest of this morning, though. Somewhere there is written down the example PR to follow for K8s.io, which you look to have done, and for GCB, or for Prow rather, to enable it to auto build your repo on merge. I think you want both parts, right?
Yep. Just FYI, Catherine sent me this README.
The README here? Okay.
Yep.
I've got the chat here. I will look at these. Let me open them before the chat closes. Come on, open. Oh, I hate Zoom.
I think that they are already inside the notes. All right.
Okay.
No, not this one, but we can add them.
I will load them into my things to look at right after this meeting, and I'll see if they're not sufficient. If not, I will try to get the sufficientness put into them.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, it sounds like this topic is closed for now.
Okay.
There's the last one. We have 8 minutes, and Dims told me that Christoph, I should ping you about this one, about the process to configure, cure, and wire up the Pro clusters. Christoph, are you there?
I am. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, this is like that. Just gonna try and pull up this issue.
I think that we can also ask Dims to tell us more. He had to leave earlier. At least he sounded like he's really interested in this topic. So I thought it's important for him.
Yeah, I'm failing to see how this connects with like the linked issue.
So I think that the best idea would be to just wait for Dims, and maybe I can ping him about this, and maybe let's move this to the Slack and do it asynchronously.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yep. So let's add the action item for me to ping Dims about it. So if this was the last suggested topic, is there anything which is not mentioned here we want to discuss before the close of this meeting? We have 5 minutes.
So can I, we have a lot of stuff to do. We have a lot of action items. We have a lot of cool ideas and things in flight. We have a small set of people who continue to sign up or get signed up for all of the work. To everybody here who like is working with an organization that depends on Kubernetes, can I please agitate for you guys to go up to your leadership and try to solicit more volunteers or volunteers? I see Dims is left. In short, we need more hands on more keyboards if we're going to continue to make progress. I'm working on doing this on the Google side. Can I, like anybody who's got access to more friends or community people who want to help here, this is a great way for people to earn some brownie points and be part of the community and have meaningful impact on the project, even if they're not strictly a software developer. This is a great opportunity. Please like tell your friends, tweet about it, write email. We need more hands and more keyboards, or we're going to continue at a very slow pace. Like there are many things that we have not even tackled yet. We haven't even opened the question of monitoring for our clusters. Like, how do I know the cluster is still alive? I don't, honestly.
I think that's a good idea. I will definitely do that. And team, feel free to write to me if there is anything I can help more.
I totally will.
Yeah, so I'm open really to help with anything.
Thank you.
No worries. That was a good point.
And to that end, I think everyone here already knows me, but I will be spending more time on this again.
Haha, sucker.
Any other topics? For the first time, second, third. So I think that this is like a good time to stop our meeting. Thank you very much for being here. And Justin, thank you very much for taking notes. It really helped me.
Yes, wonderful notes. Thank you.
And see you in 2 weeks.
See y'all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.